Hey, yo, Neil. Hey, what's up? I got you. Got you. Yeah. R&B Grammy. Free my brother. It's free to his backwards. Look.
All right, welcome to another edition of One Mic. We're in the building. We got a fresh crew here. We got a lot to talk about. Please go check us out, realsportsguys.com or Real Sports Guys on all social media platforms. Give us a like, give us a comment, give us, as Bomani Jones would say, if you don't give us a 5, we'll just call you a straight hater. That's it. That's all we'll do. But we're gonna get into it a little bit. But I want to bring up our co-host into the place with us right now. I want to start with my man Isaiah. It's good to see you, brother.
Good to see you too, Devon. Thanks for having me on the show. I'm ready to talk some boxing.
Oh yeah, we're gonna talk some boxing and a whole bunch of other stuff, but we'll get to that and get it going and get it hot. Then I gotta bring my man Darnell Kirkland Jr. The mad scientist. He over there trying to draw up something over there in high school football or something. He trying to do something over there with his offensive line and offense over there. How you doing, man?
Man, I'm doing all right. We got to break down what happened last week, man. Let's get to it.
All right, we're gonna get to it. We're gonna get to it. Well, we're gonna jump right in. Hammer is normally with us, but he's out doing his thing, and so uh, we'll jump right into the boxing game. If you had a chance to check out Boxing Moment, you gotta go check that out. It's up there. It's on our YouTube. It's out there on our audio platform, so you can get it on Spotify. Darnell broke down the fight. You had the fight between Canelo Alvarez and Charlo, and we got our result. Canelo still letting folks know he's still the king, but people still you know got Canelo positioned. People said he wasn't as dynamic he should be. I was impressed with how Canelo did. I think Canelo just was a boss in the ring, in my opinion. Canelo controlled the space. Canelo he knows how he wants to fight. He makes you fight the way he wants you to fight. He's the G in there. Charlo made a business decision early on, in my opinion. He realized he was in there with somebody who was bringing some power. He even said it at the end of the fight. He was like, "I didn't get knocked out like the rest of those." See, when I hear somebody say that, they're telling me they was in survival mode. They wasn't even thinking about winning. They was just thinking about surviving. And Canelo was just trying to stalk him all night. But I want to bring these two guys, and they know more about boxing than I do. So this is why I love having them on there. Isaiah, were you surprised that Charlo didn't give more resistance?
Yeah, I was a little bit surprised because going into the fight, I felt that Charlo was going to be able to give Canelo some problems with the consistent jab and movement, and typically he has more volume, he's more with his punches, but he was tentative, and like you said, he made a business decision early. I mean, he let Canelo into his range early, and from the first to second round, Canelo was deep inside pushing Charlo against the ropes. Um, so from that moment on, I knew it was going to be a long night for Charlo, unless he started letting his hands go, which he didn't. He was just in there fighting to survive. He did nothing in there to win. But you also have to credit Canelo Alvarez as well. He had a good game plan, stuck to it. He got into his range very easily, got easily as well.
Yeah, and Darnell. I mean, you talked about it when you broke it down at Boxing Moment. One of the things you were worried about is the way that Charlo was going to do defense, and you described to the listeners the different ways in which you can defend, and you were saying part of the challenge he was going to have is his defensive. And as I was watching it, I was thinking about how you had broke that down. I was like, that's exactly what he said. If he's going to do it this way, and I was like, Canelo's going to have be able to push him where he needs to push him, and he did exactly what you told him he couldn't do defensively. He needs to be a little bit more active. I know that's something that you talked about in the breakdown. I mean, for people who didn't listen, talk a little bit about what you said about what Charles needed to do defensively. That and
I
if he yeah.
I was talking more about the idea of control, especially control with the lead hand.
Yeah.
That's something that he really doesn't do a lot.
Yeah.
He's more of a high guard. Well, in boxing, like of course they teach you to keep your hands up, but being in a stationary high guard without really any kind of without any active lead hand, um, you're allowing somebody, especially somebody shorter than you, you're allowing them to get into your space and fight on the inside, right? And really, the way Charlo combated that in this fight was using his legs, right?
Yeah.
Then, so instead of like he controlling that space with his arm, he's trying to circle. But he didn't really like Isaiah said. Um, he used a lot of movement, but he wasn't doing a whole lot of punching. And
Yeah.
like you said, he was in survival mode. Like it seemed like Charlo thought he was in there with Sonny Liston or something. Like how the way they used to fear Sonny Liston. But yeah. As far as Canelo, oh never mind, because you about to go into that with your next point, so I'll talk about that a little
Yeah,
later.
I was gonna go into it because I had an exchange with my man Dougie Fisher. We had Dougie on
Yeah.
on here a lot, and we will have Dougie on to talk about this. But you know, Doug, people, everybody starts with nothing but respect. And when you hit the but, you're like, okay, here comes some stuff, and and his criticism was that Canelo isn't as dynamic as in a way or Crawford. And my argument was he don't have to be. Like he is a boss in the ring. He establishes himself, and if you don't have to be all that, if you could just be the bully on the block, then be the bully on the block. And he's doing that. He's doing what he has to do to win the fight, and he clearly imposes his will in the fight. So I was going back with Dougie on that, and because I feel like people are slighting Canelo until they get in the ring with him and they realize, this cat this cat's for real, and he doesn't have to be certain things because his power is imposing his positioning, and so that was my thing, and I feel like Canelo's not getting that love for pound in that way because people are criticizing the way in which he's fighting, and I think he's just effective in what he's doing, and can't nobody make him do anything other than like a Bivol who did his kind of thing, and it was it's a style thing. But Canelo he's able to impose his will on people in ways that he don't have to do all the other stuff. So that was my thing. I went back and forth with Dougie on that, and I noticed you and YouTube went back and forth a little bit in our text message. So I want to create space for that text to come
Well,
here.
well, I agree with Dougie because I said it on the show last week. It was in my keys for Canelo. That was in my keys for Canelo was to let the hands flow because if we watch the last 4 or 5 years of Canelo's career, that's a part of his game that has left, right?
But
Canelo
he didn't have
has
to. Once Charlo got a
he
taste of the
doesn't have
power, he
to.
was running.
The thing is, he doesn't have to against Charlo, but you got to realize the opponent selection of Canelo, right? Like if that part of his game is gonna have to come out when he fights David Benavidez. You know what I'm saying? Like when you're talking about pound for pound, Canelo versus Jermell Charlo is not a pound for pound fight. We're comparing Canelo to Inouye. We're comparing Canelo to Terrence Crawford. We're not comparing. We weren't comparing Canelo to Jermell Charlo at that point. So, and when we're talking about that top level, you have to have more layers to your game.
But even in
But
the Benavidez fight, you're gonna get an edge to Canelo. Like the money gonna be on Canelo, even in that fight.
he's going to have to move his hand. He's going to have to move his hands, and he's going to have to move his head. It's going to
But
be.
who do
You
you
have to
think gonna win?
like,
You think he's gonna win.
how is he going to?
He gonna win.
Like I said, wait. Like, there are different outcomes in every fight, right? He can win the fight if he fights a certain way. He's going to have to
But if he
bring out
win,
the
he
same.
win.
He's going to bring out the Canelo that
Isaiah,
fought.
he's swimming backwards, Isaiah. Come in here and save him. You come into the thing. He over here
You gotta
swimming
bring
backwards. Boy, y'all
the
be hating on
Canelo
Canelo.
back up.
I
Watch
got you.
Jimmy
I told
Davis.
you with Javante Davis, he was on that stuff. Like every time I bring somebody up, and I gotta
I'm
text you. Like
still
I told you, man. I told
I'm
you, man.
still on it.
I told you,
Who?
man.
Wait.
I
Back up,
told
back
you,
up.
man.
Who? What are you talking about? You told me with Javante Davis.
I always pick these. Even with
Javante
Crawford, I
Davis?
was telling you with Crawford, and it was like you still was giving me that he ain't on the same side of the street, man. I gotta Isaiah come in here for I got love for this brother over here, so I got to stop this. Isaiah, what's your thoughts on this thing about Canelo? 'Cause I feel like people are hating on him.
No, I think you got to give him his credit. Obviously, he's not dynamic in the way that Terrence Crawford is. Nobody is. But I think Canelo is dynamic in his own way. For one, that power is dynamic. Everyone that gets in the ring with him, afterwards they say they're surprised by that power. And secondly, that's what I think is going to carry into the David Benavidez fight as well, is that he's going to feel that, and suddenly we'll see a less active David Benavidez. you know. Uh, Secondly, yeah, Canelo is dynamic as well. I mean, even when he dropped Charlo, when he threw that I believe was a right hook, he like changed the
Overhand. He had to
trajectory on it.
overhand right. Yep.
Yeah, he changes the trajectory on his punches on his hooks very well. He does that often, to the head and to the body, which I do think is dynamic. He's dynamic in his own way.
And when he did that, you saw the look on Charles' face. He's like, "Oh no, I'm not going out in front of my kids. I'm gonna take this
You
knee.
know. The funny thing
I'm
about that
gonna
is,
take this knee."
well, I'm not gonna say it's funny, but he took that punch and then he caught two more punches and then he went down. It's not like he went down right away. Like he caught two more and he was like, you know what?
He
I'm
had
gonna
to think
go
about
down
it.
and collect myself for a minute. I had to think about it.
I got more fights to fight. I'm up here trying this out. I don't want to end up, having to pay on
Hey,
this one.
but anyways, Devon, having Canelo at number 4 pound for pound, is that not giving him his respect? Is that disrespecting Canelo at this point in his career?
I feel like it is.
It is.
Obviously
I
Crawford. I'm gonna
was the
put
one that
Crawford
had
where he is.
Canelo at number 1 when you
I
didn't.
love Inouye, but these little guys, man, they be killing me, man. These little guys, these little guys, they just be
Did you watch
overpowering people.
Inoue versus Fulton?
But Fulton, he was dancing. He's a pretty boy, and he traveled across the
What?
world.
He's a pretty boy.
He
What was
went. He went.
What was Charlo on Saturday? What was Charlo?
Charlo was food Saturday. That's what he was. He went in there. I saw when he came into the ring. I was like, man, he don't seem like he coming in. He did. He does that thing. He didn't really want to do that right on the introduction. I was like, something a little off here. I think he realizing this moment is big. Canelo does
Yeah.
that to you. See, that's what makes you dynamic, is that feeling. Everybody's chest come out until they get in that ring. You can see the little change. Like that's what Canelo does to people. To me, that's what makes it dynamic. And so, yeah, I mean, I would put him at I put him at probably 3, maybe 2. I got to put Crawford in because Crawford stuff was just so dynamic. You got to give Crawford his thing, and I'm a
What are we
Crawford fan.
complaining about this? You be complaining about one spot.
But
You
but
say you
but
put him
but
at
but
3.
if Crawford, if as much as I like Crawford, if the fight goes tomorrow, Canelo gonna he gonna be the betting edge.
He's supposed to be. He fights
That's
at
what I'm saying.
168.
So
Crawford fights at
if he's supposed to
147.
be, then give him his respect. See, that's the thing about it. If he's
No,
supposed to be, then you gotta
no,
give him his respect.
no. This is where I gotta
If
push
he's
back
that
on you.
dude,
What does pound for pound mean? What does pound for pound mean?
in my mind,
What was
look,
the original pound? The pound for pound was put in play to for Sugar Ray Robinson back in the 1950s and 1960s, right? Because they were saying like if they were the same size, would Sugar Ray Robinson beat Joe Louis? Obviously, Terrence Crawford and Canelo are not the same size. When they fight, Canelo will be 190 pounds on the fight.
where did Canelo start?
He started at 154.
So he started at 154.
What does that mean now?
He ain't that far off.
What
I
does
mean,
that mean?
Crawford
He was
walking around
16
at
years
170.
old.
Crawford walking around 170, 180, isn't
Y'all gonna keep falling for it. Y'all gonna keep falling for it.
he? Okay, all
There's
right
a
now.
reason why that doesn't. There's a reason why this doesn't happen consistently in boxing. You asking somebody to move up 3 weight classes. You can talk about where Canelo started. That's not gonna matter when they go into the ring. When they walk in the ring, he's gonna be 190.
He's full at 168 right now. That's true.
Huh?
Like he's a full 168 right now.
Yeah,
Like,
he's a full 168.
like, that's gonna be hard to deal with for anybody coming up to that.
So, all right. So other stuff.
I got one for you.
Go. What you got?
If Tim Tszyu were to fight Shakur Stevenson in a couple months, who would be the better favorite?
I'll go Shakur. I don't mess with him. Shakur one of them cats I don't mess with.
Tim Tszyu would be favored. He's way too big.
But that fight couldn't
Some cats
happen.
I don't care about. Some cats just know how to fight.
All right.
Some cats just know how to fight. Shakur one of them cats just know how to fight. That's me. He just know how to fight. He don't care who's in the ring.
Hey.
Yeah, I don't know. Isaiah, who you got? You got Tim Tszyu?
I will go with Shakur with that one too, just because I off the eye test, I feel like pound for pound, he's the better fighter.
You saying pound for pound, but it's not.
But
yeah.
Yeah, but you're talking about this hypothetical stuff that wouldn't happen anyway. Like this is a fight that could never happen.
That's the thing.
Whereas Terrence Crawford and Canelo is something that is more realistic and that could actually happen. Whereas I could see Terrence Crawford being dynamic in that fight against Canelo as well.
Yeah. We definitely got to get that one. All right, what else are we gonna talk about in the boxing world? Y'all in this I'm gonna give this swing to y'all. What else y'all want to hit on the boxing world before we go to something else?
We gotta talk about your boy. Mario Barrios. He put on the performance of a lifetime, and it's time for Ugas to retire. I'm sorry to say it, but Earl Spence retired Ugas, man. Well, you saw the eye swell up. They should have stopped that fight in like round 10, round 11, but Mario Barrios was styling on him.
Yeah, I texted you a while ago. I said I like this kid. I like this kid. I like the way this kid gets down. I want to see where he goes, but I like the way he fights, the way he gets down. He caught me, so I had to text. I don't keep it up on this stuff. Like I was like, but every once in a while there's somebody who pops out. I was like, I like the way this kid gets down, and so we'll see. What's the next? What do you think the next mix for him? Because he got the interim right. And then that's if Crawford back. How's that work for people who know?
So if Crawford ends up dropping the belts, he's going to be elevated, right? So he's going to get one of them, and Boots is going to get one of the other one. Well, Boots is going to get the IBF most likely. But I think that's a good fight.
That's what I'm saying. That might.
I don't know if they're going to do it.
Yeah.
Barrios and Boots, that'll be a nice fight.
That'd be a nice fight, And that'll probably set them up for the bigger payday. Isaiah over here looking at like he.
Yeah.
What you saying, Isaiah?
Man, honestly, I watched that fight. Barrios had a nice little game plan. He had a nice jab, I feel. But I feel like that fight was more about just how bad Ugas was. Like, just how bad, punch resistant. Obviously, his eye took so much damage. Just he got dropped by a jab. Barrios did his thing. We give him his credit, but really, I think that fight was more just about like this is the end of Ugas. Like, he didn't look good. He looked slow compared to Barrios. Yeah. Like Barrios was able to outbox him, and I just, that it was a little bit sad seeing that, but all credit to Barrios.
I said this in the group chat, but you know what they really setting up. Tank versus Barrios too at welterweight for the WBC championship. Shoot, as soon as drop them belts, it's gonna happen.
man, I tell you, Ugas, it was like his corner was carrying him, and it was clear, like they needed to protect him, and like the referee, like at every round was like, "I'm gonna stop for the doctor." Like like towards the end, it's like almost every round he would stop and have the doctor come in and check, and it's like you get when you see those fights when people they age right in front of you. That was one of it. Like it was like he aged right there. You can
Yeah.
see it. It's like man, it's like you get to the point where it's like he had to look like I would rather be on my couch, but I'm gonna try and fight to the end. You know, it's like
And
I'm in
they
front of my family. They tried to hold him, but they
they
should
had
have stopped that
Stitch,
one early, huh?
they had Stitch Duran in the corner, and you know the legendary cut man, and they couldn't do nothing with that eye. It was like all the king's horses and all the king's men couldn't put them back together. It was,
Ah, yeah,
oh man,
I felt it, yeah. It was one of them. It wasn't quite the Ali against Holmes where you're like, stop the fight, but it was close. It was like it was clear he wasn't getting nothing there. He just taking blows, and for a guy like that who's a prideful guy who puts he really started to get some energy and moving until he ran into to Spence. It's like you gotta let him. I think they just want him to go out on his sword, but that's one of those things where you got to stop somebody for their like that could be long term damage right there. You got to get that going. But the Barrios man, I like. I mean that cat he got that look like. Sometimes he got that look like if you die, you die. He just be boom boom going out. I like it, but we'll see where he goes after that. Well, we're gonna have a lot in the fight game coming up, so we'll check that out. But let's move on because we got a little bit a few other things to get into. Now, I feel like this next topic we're supposed to get into. I hate to do it because Hammer isn't here, um, and so we have what they call the toilet bowl. Denver against Chicago. Man, I'm trying to figure out who is worse. Like, so I, we asked the question: is Chicago Bears the worst professional organization in sports? Is there one? Can you name one worse than the Bears right now? Like,
easily.
who,
I could easily
who
name
you
one.
got? Who you got?
Charlotte Hornets, Michael Jordan's franchise. They want Chicago's favorite son. The Charlotte Hornets is easily worse. Look at their history drafting. It's worse than the Chicago Bears. At least the Bears been to a Super Bowl. What was that, '06?
Yeah,
The
but right
Hornets
now,
never did.
when you think about where the Bears were at the end of the year last year, and everybody's talking about all the draft capital they had, all the other stuff, like when they're coming in, everybody was, and none of that stuff has worked out, right? None of Eberflus looks like he don't know what he's doing. Poles, the GM, look like, and I said it to Hampton last year. I said I'm not sure what your boy gonna do with all that stuff, and he had his chest out. And then and it just looked like I mean, everybody was talking about Fields being an MVP. I mean, Isaiah. I mean, we'll get to Denver, but man, I mean, that's a train wreck. I mean, our Lions are looking good. We were just in Green Bay, me and Hap, hanging out. Them Lions, boy, they roaring. It sounded like we would be talking about the Lions in this situation. I'm so glad we ain't got to talk about them like this. But Chicago, my goodness, have you seen anything worse than that, Isaiah?
No, I think the Bears are the worst right now in terms of organizations, as far as organizations go. Because if you look at how prior to the season, everyone was expecting the Bears to do something. On paper, it was supposed to work, but Justin Fields hasn't been there. The defense hasn't been there. The receivers haven't been there. Um, and like you said, it just seems like it's something that is started from the top all the way down, from the organization, the coach. Uh, they're all having this problem, and I really against the Broncos, I thought maybe they would be able to get one against the Broncos because at least they didn't give up 70. But uh, the Bears proved to still lose that one against the Broncos. So I don't know. I don't know what the Bears can do. I wanted Justin Fields to do well. I was kind of rooting for him, but I'm not sure what direction they can go now.
Anytime you got to make a starting player stay home. So Claypool, like that's the beginning and the end. I remember when the Steelers having problems with Antonio Brown and some of the other stuff. Like anytime you got to make somebody stay home, it's like you ain't injured, you ain't. It's a healthy scratch. That's when you know it's the beginning and the end. And I told him when they got Claypool, I was like, "There's a reason why Tomlin and them got rid of him." But even when he looks like he might be right, Claypool might be right. you know you in trouble. And so they got something. But on the other side, Denver was down to the Bears and came back to take that at the end. I'm not sure what I got. I'm not sure what's going on in Denver either. They got a coach who came in want to talk about everybody but himself. Do you have any confidence that Denver is going in the right direction?
No, because they were trying to give up 70 again if Eberflus and them didn't put it in a safety mode. But man, yeah, Denver's in trouble. I gotta disagree with you about the Chase Claypool. I don't think Chase Claypool is the beginning of the end. I think it's the beginning of it turning around. Right? They started to cut the cancers out the locker room, and you saw they started playing better. And he's gonna stay at home for next week too. Um, so I think that's the beginning of hopefully building something and see if they can get control of that locker room.
Yeah, somebody. I heard somebody talk about. I forgot how they described it. They said there's always guys in the locker room. I forgot what they call. I forgot the term they use. But there's always guys, and they didn't call them. It wasn't like described as cancer, but there's always those guys who believe they should be getting more. There's always three or four, and they're the ones who are working in the locker room, always creating that narrative. And and it's in every NFL locker room. The key is you got to keep that noise down. But when that group grows, right? When that group grows, that's where you got problems, right? And so, problem what you're saying is, they get Claypool out of there. He's probably one of those guys, right? But I think they got I think they don't believe enough in the coaches. I bet there's like at least 10 or 12 of them in that locker room. That's hard to cut out everybody, right? Because and there's evidence that they might be right. So that's the part they're gonna have to manage, and probably Claypool was the first step to doing that. But you know, Denver's got some of the same thing, although they start with a coach that's got a little bit more control. He can push people in and out. But both these teams, boy, y'all Lions fans, y'all been there. Y'all ain't got to deal with
I
that
think
now.
with Denver is the
Huh?
opposite way.
Huh?
Like
Was
I
that?
think with Denver is the opposite way. Like the coaches don't believe in the players as much. Like there was like Sean Payton, he's going at Russell Wilson. He don't like the way he is. You know what I'm saying? He's beefing with the player instead of the players beefing with the coaches. And
Yeah,
it's the
I mean,
opposite.
yeah.
Denver's
Peyton said some things. I think he's had to back up a little bit because he a little bit over his skis, talking a lot of junk, and he realized once they hit that 70 on him, he had to go back and do some reflection, a little bit on that. So we'll see that. Last Thursday we were in Green Bay for them Lions, and Isaiah, I'm assuming you a Lions fan. Um, Man, up close and personal, boy, the Lions they get after you. It's physical. How you feel about that being a Lions fan?
Man, I love it. It's the hype around the Lions this year. It's so good as a Lions fan to feel after having so many years of just no expectations and to finally have expectations. It means a lot just as an organization, but just to see the brand of football that they're playing too also makes you more proud of the team. Just physical, run it down your throat. I love all the rookies that the Lions have.
Mm.
Jameer Gibbs, Brian Branch, Jack Campbell. All those guys are ready to play and have made impact day one.
and you forgot the best one, Sam Laporta.
Yes, Sam Laporta. Yes, Sam
Well,
Laporta.
in Montgomery, boy, he's got a second life. I mean, he was running that football on Green Bay. That was his first victory against the Packers. He spent 4 years with the Bears, got his first victory. But the Lions came in. I've always said about the Lions, I said if they got a coach that reflects the city, they will be going where they need to go. And Campbell reflects the city. I mean, they came in and it was Thursday night. Energy was hype in there, and they just came in like we don't care. It's something about probably what they did against the Chiefs in that opening game. Because if you can go in Arrowhead and do that, like you feel like you can travel anywhere, right? And they came in with such a confidence. They did it last year, but there's just something about them, and they're fundamentally sound. That defense is getting after people. Yeah, the Lions are for real. They got stuff that travels. Ain't no fake to them at all. So I just wanted to make sure I give a little air to that. Well, hey, we're gonna spend the rest of this talking about the counter. I think we it was Dame time, and then they went with the counter trade move in Boston. So obviously Milwaukee gets Dame, and then Jrue Holiday goes to Portland. Everybody's like, well, Portland's not gonna hold on to them. Where's he gonna go? And I had so many people's like, I just don't. I just pray he don't go to the East again. You get all these teams, and he ends up back with the Celtics. And so I want to pick a little bit like, wow, okay, what does this mean, right? In terms of, what's going to happen with this counter move. I'll start with you, Darnell. Like, Celtics ended up with Holiday. When you look at just starting the East, like, what does this mean in terms of, Milwaukee was clear in their move, but with the Celtics getting Holiday, that's like smart plus.
Yeah. And just the arm race continues, right? So Milwaukee made their move, and like I put in the title of this segment, Boston has the counter, right? If we go back, I know they're neither two are the exact same players, but if you look back to that 2018 series, when Jrue was on the Pelicans and Dame was on the Trailblazers, of course, Jrue Holiday turned to Joe Dumars reincarnated, and the Pelicans swept the Trailblazers. So if there's somebody that you would choose to guard Damian Lillard, it would be Jrue Holiday, and he brings something different to that defense, right? And I always argued that Jrue Holiday was the best guard defender in the game over Marcus Smart, but they're really different types of defenders. I look at Marcus Smart as more of a playmaker, and Jrue Holiday is more like the one-to-one guy. So like if we're giving like a football example, like Jrue Holiday is more Darrell Revis, and Marcus Smart is more Asante Samuel. And if you had this type of dynamic, you inserting that Darrell Revis in there to throw at Damian Lillard, I think that tips the scales back into Boston's favor. But this really makes the playoff picture um, very interesting because if you ask me, um, it's so competitive because the triangle theory they're not really going to work, in my opinion, because I think the Celtics are built to beat Milwaukee, but I think Milwaukee is built to beat Denver. But also, I think Denver is built to beat the Celtics. So like, it just depends on what who matches up against who. So like, we're going to be in for a very exciting season.
So Isaiah, like when you saw that, like what's your thoughts? You agreeing with what you're hearing? Well, what's some other, what are you thinking about these moves that are happening here in the league and where it puts it?
The Damian Lillard trade obviously was shocking, especially after his initial, I guess destination that he wanted was Miami, and he wasn't able to get that. And apparently he tried to backtrack and be like, okay, well don't trade me if we can't do Miami. And apparently it was the point of no return. So Lillard is in a situation where he didn't end up where he wanted to be necessarily. So that is a little bit concerning in terms of fit. Is he going to fit well with Giannis? Is he going to be able to work with Giannis? It could be one of those things where it just doesn't work out. Sometimes certain stars don't mesh well together. And especially, I think those other factors, them wanting to be there, does play a role. Now with Jrue Holiday on the Celtics, I think that's a good addition for them defensively. But like you said, he is kind of Marcus Smart plus. But I feel like with Jrue, you can kind of put the ball in his hands more. He can be more of a guard for you, whereas Smart was just like um, a 3-and-D guard basically. But I think losing Robert Williams will be big for them though, because if I'm mistaken, who was on the back end? Who was the center for them?
And
The
I'm still
Celtics.
The Celtics
and what
they played Horford and Williams together and sometimes they'll just bring Williams off the bench.
And the other thing is their end of the game plan offensively. Celtics struggle into the game. I'm not sure if Jrue helps that because even Milwaukee struggle with the end of the game offensive sets and what they do. It's gonna be interesting. I think he's a little. He has more in his bag that he could probably go to, maybe than Marcus did in that one. But I don't know if they. It's gonna be interesting. They still struggle with possessions at the end of the game. And I don't know if that's just their offensive approach in Boston in terms of how they do those end of the game kind of scenarios. Ball gets into Tatum and into Brown's hands. They don't the handles like getting to where they got to get to and who gets where. I think it's going to be interesting to see how they work that out because that's still going to matter and when you get into those, those conference championships and those, and those kind of things, I think Milwaukee has a little bit more clarity when it comes to that in terms of what they're going to be able to do down the stretch when you got to have a shot. I think Denver's got a clear understanding of how they execute down the stretch in those ways. Still want to see what the Celtics are going to do on that side. I think they're better. I think they're doing what they need to do defensively. Just the execution down the stretch. The person who looked like witness protection program. Did y'all see that media day with Philadelphia? Embiid was trying to. I mean, with the Harden and everything else. I mean, the team to watch that's going to implode with all this happening around them is Philadelphia, y'all. I don't know if you had a chance to watch it. Embiid tried to explain it like we're still going for chips, trying to be positive. That's a dumpster fire right now. I don't know how y'all feel about that, but I don't know if you had a chance to watch that. But what are y'all thoughts about Philadelphia and where they're at? Are they just even sliding? Can they even do anything? Like, what do you feel about Philly?
Yeah, they're sliding, but I think the only thing, well, I'm just gonna sound weird, but the saving grace for them might be Patrick Beverly.
Mm.
He seems to be a leader that they really don't have in the locker room, and maybe his leadership can right the ship and bring them together because he's close with James Harden. So maybe he can talk James Harden back into being a part of the team and giving it another go. But if he can't, we're looking at real trouble.
Yeah, I feel like that one is, and then Miami was the other one was hoping to do something, and you know this was a double blow, right? They didn't get Dame, they didn't get Jrue, they didn't. I don't, and they still where they're at. I don't. They didn't, they didn't get better, right? So, um, you know, are there teams in the East like I'm seeing what the Pistons are doing? We got Cleveland. Are there teams that y'all think are going to surprise folks in the East? They're not going to push these top three, but y'all think, y'all probably y'all have a closer look at Pistons because you're right in y'all own backyard. But you got Cleveland and some other. You think some other people are going to close the gap? I mean, who could knock uh, uh, Philadelphia out of that? They're kind of customarily been around that third spot in the East, right? Who could make a challenge for that?
You just talked about him, Miami.
You think Miami?
Even after all they've been through, they still brought in Thomas Bryant. You know what I'm saying?
I'm a Thomas
And they,
Bryant
they, they
fan.
might not be done moving stuff. I know. That's why I said. That's why I brought him up. And also, Malcolm
See,
Brogdon's still on the.
see
He's still
Isaiah. He
on the.
tried to tap into my string. See, he tried to use a he's an argument because he knows. I feel like Thomas Bryant is misunderstood, man. Riley gets him. Go get him, Riley. I'm sorry, man. He tried. See, that's what he tried to use that one against me, man. All right, you right. Oh my goodness. All right, so if you had to sit down right now between the two of y'all, if you had to like rank the top 3 or 4 in the league, given these moves, is Denver still at the top of this list, or is it the Celtics? Is it Milwaukee? Where y'all put at the top of that list? Isaiah, where you got at the top of that list between those three teams?
Denver's still at the tops, man. They're still the champs. I still don't see anyone stopping the Joker. There's no, and until they prove that they can, they'll still be at the top. Now, I do think the addition of Damian Lillard is huge for the Bucks. Um,
All
so
right.
I think I will put them at number two.
Okay. How do you have it, Darnell?
Yeah, Jokic has the crown. So until they knock him off he has that spot for me. But to be honest, I think Milwaukee does match up well with them because they have the two bigs, right? A lot of teams struggle with guarding Jokic because he's obviously a great player, but with Milwaukee, they can put Brook Lopez on him and have Giannis sitting there. That's a wrinkle that other teams have explored, but they don't have the personnel that Milwaukee really has, right? So we saw in the regular season, Philly did it with PJ Tucker. They throw PJ Tucker at him, and then have Embiid sitting in the dunker spot, guarding Aaron Gordon. In the playoffs, you saw Rui Hachimura and AD, but now with Milwaukee, you got Brook Lopez. He's a real 7-footer. You put him on Jokic, he's gonna make it a little bit tougher, and then you got Giannis sitting there at the rim. I mean, I think that's a better proposition than we've been seeing, and also at the end of the day, it's tough to repeat. And even though they have the crown, it's still a journey to get back there. But I think they do have the chemistry to make it through that. But also, health is a big thing, right? Because in the NBA, it seems like not every series, but every playoff is swung by a couple of key injuries. So it's gonna be tough for them to get there, but they got the crown right now.
So you made my case. The reason why I thought I was going to go Milwaukee, Denver, then the Celtics for all the reasons you just said. You basically rewind this, listen to what Darnell said. That's why I'm saying Milwaukee is I would go Milwaukee, Denver, then the Celtics for everything that Darnell just said. Darnell made the case. Um, I think it's hard to repeat. I think they're going to be good. They're going to be there. They got to stay healthy, but I just think Milwaukee. I mean, Giannis is already tough, but you add a Dame into the mix with him, and he's highly motivated. That's going to be a tough thing. I feel I feel good about what Milwaukee's got going. Like I said, probably their toughest matchup. I think Darnell, you put it right. I think the Celtics. It's going to be a game of matchups, but the Celtics, I think, could be the toughest matchup for them. But they match up well against Denver. But I think there's going to be some other teams emerging out the West that are going to challenge Denver as well. And so it's going to be. But I feel like Milwaukee's got back on track. All right, y'all. We gonna give out some flowers. And so we always try to drop the mic. We want to give out some flowers. You know, uh, I'll start with Darnell, then I'll go to you, Isaiah, and I'll end. Anyone y'all want to just give a shout out to?
Man, I'll give my shout out to Canelo Alvarez for his big win on Saturday. He really showed up and showed out. I know everybody's saying that, hey, I'm not giving him enough credit, but I'm gonna give my flowers to him because at one point I did have him number one pound for pound, and he went in, he really showed out. Um, but he, I'm interested in seeing what he does in the future. You got the Benavidez versus Andre fight coming up. He's hopefully he fights the winner, but right now he's the king, undisputed at 168.
Mm. All right, Isaiah. Anybody you want to give a shout out to?
Yeah, shout out to Jimmy Butler, man. I don't know if you guys saw his media day pictures that dropped today, but he officially entered his emo era. And I've been laughing at that all day. So I got to shout out to him. He stayed in character. I don't know if you saw last year, he came in with like some dreads, it's like extensions, like fake dreads on his hair. The guy's a character. I think he's funny. I think it's great for the league. So shout out to Jimmy Butler.
Great, 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 great. I want to give a shout out to my Bethune-Cookman Wildcasters media day there in SWAC. Give a shout out to my niece, Chanel Wilson. It was newcomer of the year last year. And excited to see what they're going to do. They're kicking off their season, and all the SWAC teams down there. I want to give some love. It's been good to kind of get connected to that energy that's in the SWAC, but we're going to Hell Wildcats up here, Hell Cats over there, and we're going to support Bethune-Cookman. And good luck with this season. Follow me on Twitter. I'll be showing that love to them. They're gonna be the dark horse in the SWAC. All right, y'all. Thank y'all for being with us. Isaiah, thank you for being with us as always, brother. You're bringing it to us. Darnell, keep breaking them down. Y'all check us out on realsportsguys.com, Real Sports Guys on all social media platforms. Get that boxing moment that Darnell did. You listen to that after you hear what happened to Canelo. He broke it down. It came out just like he said it was going to be. That's what we talk about. That's what you get here. And then Isaiah bring it to us. We're gonna have a boxing focused one. We get Dougie Fisher. We get Teron Briggs. We get some of the cats who in here now. Now if we get Dougie, we got to make sure everybody can talk because Dougie will take over. But check this out. We'll have some interesting content coming up, and all the love. And we'll see you on the other side.
Hey, yo, Neil. Hey, what's up? I got you. Got you. Yeah. R.I.P. Grammy. Free my brother.